proclamation pursuant to adjournment. Honorable Chairman Greg Manley presides.
We have 15 present. 15 present. We do have a quorum, none absent. Next item is the approval of our agenda. Commissioner Wheeler?
Mayor, I would like to make a motion regarding our amended agenda. We have 3 items on the agenda tonight that are related, some of which would be mutually exclusive of each other, some of which might take some discussion about maybe doing more than one of them. So I would like to move that we approve the amended agenda and move item I-1A, resolution 510, and item resolution 210516 to item 11A, old business, so that those are all discussed at one time. It makes sense to do that, then we can decide, make motions about whatever we want to do, but get it all discussed at one time is peaceful. Second. Yes. Move to approve the amended agenda, moving item I-1A, resolution 21-510, and item L-1D, resolution 21-0516, to old business and 11A, so that we're discussing all of the issues related to the election commission at one time, and dealing with one issue, which is, again, they're mutually exclusive, some of them depend on paying for the other, and the discussion is all certainly in discussion.
All right, so we have a second to that motion. Commissioner Ford? Commissioner Tester?
Mr. Chairman, that amended agenda came out less than 5 days before our meeting, so I think that means we need to move to suspend the rules.
Yes, I would agree. We would need to suspend the rule as we consider it, but we couldn't consider it until after the amendment was passed. Is there any discussion or questions or any further amendments to this amendment? Yes, so that includes both the agenda items, correct, Commissioner Wheeler? The new agenda items, as well as the one that was added as well?
That's correct.
Okay. Questions been called on the amendment?
So we're not voting on the suspension of the
We'll be voting to suspend the rules after it's approved in its form. All right. On the amendment, or we're going to vote on the amendment right now? Yeah, I do. We're going to be voting on the amendment that was offered by Commissioner Wheeler to amend the agenda first. Would we do all that at one time?
They're saying that they need to know to suspend the rules to be able to do that, so you're going to take the one.
You want to suspend the rules first?
Because people can be concerned that they're approving the agenda without suspending the rules.
Okay. All right. Our attorney would like for us to suspend the rules first. So if we'll go ahead and back up just a minute, Kathy. This first motion will be to suspend the rule.
Move to suspend the rule.
Thank you, Commissioner Wheeler. Do we have a second on suspending the rules? Second by Commissioner Carragher. No. Remember, it takes 2/3 to suspend the rule. Right. Madam Clerk, if you'll move us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in to suspend the rule. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. Twelve yes. And, hold on. What did you say, 12 yes? 12 yes and 3 no, and the rules are suspended.
States that it's a majority vote when in fact it's, but it has the 12, which would be 2 more than required, which is 10.
Yes. Thank you. All right, the proposed amendment that we have, and we will be voting on the agenda as amended proposal. Commissioner Wheeler made the motion. Commissioner Ford made the second. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen to consider the amended agenda. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you announce the vote. Twelve yes and 3 no, and the agenda is amended. At this time, we'll move into public hearing. We do have several speakers tonight. I'll go ahead and start from the top of the list this evening. Each person will have 3 minutes to come forward to the podium and speak on the topic that they had signed up to speak upon. When you come to the podium, if you'll give your name and address to the clerk, please, and go ahead and start. I'll keep your time here and let you know when you've reached your 3 minutes. Our first speaker is Craig Ponder. Craig, if you'll come forward to the podium, please.
Dr. Craig Ponder, 421 Western Snap Road, Tennessee.
Go ahead, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, it's a joy to be able to stand before you tonight and represent about 28 members of my church, New Salem Baptist Church. I'm a pastor. I've been there 18 years. In August, 18 years I've been at New Salem. And quite simply, we've come tonight, and a few of our church members and county and community members are here tonight to express some concern about the Bitcoin mining industry that has moved into our community. There has been much discussion regarding the noise levels that are beginning to impact our community. We've heard many stories about real estate values, real estate ventures that have fallen through because of the noise that's been created there. Our families are being impacted. Our community's been impacted. When folks walk up onto the church, front porch of the church there on Sunday mornings, they're asking us what's the noise on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. We're thinking of some kind of combines or some sort of machinery happening there. And we're concerned for the fact that everything we've heard back from either Grid or Red Dog, getting on whatever flag they're flying under today happens to be, they told us in no uncertain terms, that's why we built what we built in the middle of nowhere. We've been quoted that saying, they've been quoted as saying that's why we put it in the middle of nowhere. The industry has specifically said, we know we're talking big business, we know we're rural America battling big business, big industry. But the simple fact is that they have nothing to offer us locally. We feel as if we've been invaded by an army that we had nothing to say about. We're fearful that the noise level is already there. There has to be something to be done. There has to be some kind of suppression after the fact, some kind of aftermarket, something to be done. But more importantly than that, there's some other folks now I want to speak about a position that's before the folks in Lamar, that another has been proposed over close to where Greenwood Drive was in 81 South, but that substation. And that's got us even more concerned because 45 acres of land are on sale there. The potentially, what I've been told, 2, if not 3 times larger than the one there at Baker Bridge. So there are a lot of folks in our county that are concerned, quality of life has been affected directly and impacted in many ways. I know families that are complaining of headaches and they can't sleep at night because the noise is that loud. And I'm a 20-year Navy veteran, and I've heard it at my house. I've clocked 87, 88 decibels on the back porch of my house. It sounds to me, when I'm inside with my windows closed, it sounds like a jet engine on the tarmac about to take off there in that back room. And I'm not even the closest. You'll hear some other folks tonight that live much, much closer than I do. So I just want to go on record tonight, and again, I don't know the answer, but I just think it's a public record that something needs to be done. I've had folks in my door talking at Bright Ridge at my house talking about it. We've spoken many times with some of our local news guys, and this thing is getting some legs earned that I never expected. It started off with one simple Facebook rant. I've done a total of 3 Facebook rants in my entire life, and this one is the one everybody seems to know most about.
Dr. Ponder, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And our next speaker tonight will be Preston Hawley. Preston, if you'll come forward to the podium, please.
Good evening, I'm Preston Hawley, 325 Lowell Humphreys Road, just down the road from Pastor Craig. I come tonight, I'm not pointing fingers, we're not casting blame, and no ill will. We do want to begin a serious conversation about the Bitcoin facility that is in our community. But I know that also in the near future, you do have a decision to make in regards to zoning and the possible land sale at the facility over off of Highway 81. We would simply like to request that when that time becomes available, that you would vote no to that. And that being the reason is that this Bitcoin operating processing facility is what we believe is supposed to go in there. And we would love to, we would hate for another community to be going through what we are. I live directly across the road from the Bitcoin facility in Limestone that began operating just a few months ago. The community was not made aware of what was being built. Our best guess was a solar farm. And once the buildings popped up and the noise began, we all felt very surprised, betrayed, and of course upset. How in the world could something like this that makes so much noise be allowed to be placed in our quiet community? My wife and I built our home there for that very reason. As I'm sure most of you understand, rural life in East Tennessee is the best life. We know there was a lack of information. I don't think that was anybody trying to hide anything or trying to be nasty about it. But the lack of information whenever this started operating. The New Southern community deserved to be informed of what was coming and how our lives would be changed. It is our hope that those in charge of this facility will try to make a sincere effort to make things right for the community that is so adversely affected. I'd love to see this group of commissioners come up with a way to possibly regulate businesses such as this that want to come into our community so this facility can operate in a way that would make our community quiet again. Our community was not given a chance to ask questions, voice concerns, until it was basically too late. Whatever you can do to help, we would certainly appreciate. Any of you are welcome to come and sit on my front porch, take a listen, take a look at what is there, so that you know exactly what this facility is, what these type of facilities do, and maybe find a better way for them to operate if they want to be in our area. But as far as our community goes, it's really put a black spot in our community to where it's an eyesore. It makes a lot of noise, and we feel like now we're stuck with it. And it just never goes away. There's no break from the sound at all. Even when it's running quiet, it's still there. So it changes, of course, with the time of day, based on electric, I guess the cost of electricity, but it never goes away. And so wherever one of these facilities does land, it will directly and adversely affect the community, the value of the real estate, and we would just hate to see this happen anywhere else in Washington County.
Thank you. David Stahl-Smith, if you'll come forward to the podium, please.
Good evening. My name is David Stahl-Smith. I live at 201 Dogwood Village. I'm here to thank
Turn the volume up, we can't hear what's going on.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is David Stahl-Smith. I live at 201 Dogwood Village Road.
Mr. Stahl-Smith, if you'll just move closer to the mic, Oftentimes, that'll help.
Is that better?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Good evening. I'm here to stand for our community's well-being. I'm sure I think you all heard what the rest of them had to say about how loud that noise actually is. And most of us have traveled down there to listen to this noise already and hear what it's going to do to our community. And now we live directly, half the distance or less than what the church is that they're talking about a third of that distance. And it's just going to eat up our neighborhood with that noise. We've heard it, we've listened to it, and it's plain. Like many others in this area surrounding this location, we bought a house 17 years ago. We moved back here from Knoxville. We moved back here for the peace and tranquility in this community. And this is my home. This is where I grew up at. And the area that we live in was beautiful. It's quiet, it's peaceful. And we rebuilt a koi pond out there. We built lots of decks around it. We did this so we could sit out front and enjoy our community, enjoy the nature that's around us. There's a lot of nature, a lot of sound. And I'll tell you, we joke about this all the time. Every year it comes around the time that the frogs are in mating season. It gets quite loud. It gets unnervingly loud. It gets about the same level of what this facility is. But it's a couple of weeks. Right now you have cicadas. I'm sure you all hear all the cicadas out there. Imagine that year-round. Because that's close to the same level. Year-round, 24/7. Basically, if you pass this, we'll all lose our property values. But worse than that, we're stuck living where we're at. We don't get to move. We just have to deal with this. And we don't have any recourse at this point. Once you have voted yes on this, we're stuck. So we beg you, we're pleading with you all to please take this into consideration. I can tell you, there's nothing that we won't stop at after this to take it down. We'll continue to fight because we don't have anything else to do. We're going to lose everything that we have, including our sanity, our mental health. This is a big deal to all of us. And in honesty, for what? And what are we doing this for? A few coins? This is, a few people are going to make a little bit of money. There's a lot of things that we could do in this area that you could approve that might actually benefit our area. This does not. It doesn't benefit anybody sitting here. It doesn't benefit us. It actually harms the community. So we're begging with you and pleading with you all to hear us. We are your constituents. We are your family. Not them. It's us. We need your help right now. We need you to consider us, our well-being and our welfare, and how we can actually go on with our lives, especially after this last year, the way everything has been. We certainly don't need one more hit at this point to cause another blow in our lives, our sanity, our health and well-being. I think this area has enough of that right now, and I can tell you all, throughout my lifetime of being around here, you guys have done an incredible job. I know you've changed faces and stuff over the years, but you all have done a good job keeping a lot of stuff out of this area that's tried to come in. This is no different. This doesn't help any of us. Just a few people are going to make a little bit of money, and we're all going to suffer the consequences. So I thank you for your time and appreciate your all's assistance with this matter.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Sam Zimmerman. Sam, if you'll come forward to the podium, please.
Good evening. Before I start, can I ask you guys if you know the words cashless society and also social credit score? If you have not heard of those, now might be the time to do some research. Come to a neighborhood near you. Okay. First of all, my heart goes out to everyone in the room here that lives within range of a noisy facility. You guys are all in my prayers. Here's my quick story. With our firstborn on the way, my wife and I were excited to leave the big city of Charlotte and begin a quiet life in East Tennessee nearby my parents, who live off Lester Snap Road. Long story short, we had placed $10,000 down in rent-to-own agreement at the J.D. Fox property right across the street from what we thought was a future solar farm. As we went to clear brush and prep the land for building early this spring, things became clear that I had made a giant mistake and since have pulled out of the deal, forsaking the $10,000 in order to save my sanity. I literally thought that I might go insane after sleepless nights of camping out on the property due to the humming that went on 24/7. I ended up walking across the street and spoke with the facility manager, who was nice enough to get me in touch with a gentleman named Ed Medford, as you saw in the article. I thought everyone here at this meeting would enjoy a couple of my favorite Ed Medford lines from our conversation. There is a reason why we built this facility in the middle of nowhere. We built in a valley in order to muffle the sound from traveling further distances. He also tried to sympathize with me by talking about that he lives near 2 miles from a railroad, which was a joke. So these comments just show how out of touch with reality of the situation Ed and his team are. I find it ironic how Ed would say on repeat that he wishes to be a good neighbor, but I can guarantee you that there's no chance that he would move his family into this neighborhood in the middle of nowhere. If they must stay, there are solutions that are available. I don't think you guys need me to come up with these. There's sound absorption technology out there, and there's other ways to cool the supercomputers that are mining the bitcoins. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Well, our next speaker is Roger Drake. Roger, if you'll come forward to the podium, please.
Could I let my wife Kathy Green go first? I'm a little nervous.
Yes, that's fine. Kathy, come on up.
My name is Kathy Breen, and my husband Roger Drake has never been nervous talking in front of a group. I live at 209 Mayberry Road in the Lamar area, and I'm here on behalf of both our communities at Bailey Bridge and in the Lamar area of Jonesboro. Roger and I bought our property on Mayberry Road 20 years ago because it was a beautiful building site. It was a wonderful community. We heard great things about the community and the people here, and we wanted to be a part of that. Our property backs the site that is being considered for this Bitcoin mining situation. I follow the people that spoke so eloquently about their sad feelings about this development in our area. And I'd like just to take a minute and ask our group, both the Lamar area people and the Bailey Bridge area people, please stand up and show your faces.
Hold on. I can't do that. I can't do that. Please remain seated. It kind of acts like some polling, so we can't do that in here. But
sorry, I wasn't aware of it. But
That's
anyway,
okay.
we have a good representation, and this is only a drop in the bucket of the people that are on board with this. We have canvassed, and we have probably close to 200 signatures that are willing to go on record and as people who don't want this in their backyards. One of the issues that I wanted to bring to your attention was the fire at the Bitcoin mining situation in Maynardville. The fire chief was interviewed the other on November 3rd of 2020, and the reporter reported a devastating fire that just wiped out the Bitcoin mining operation there. The volts were up to 480 volts. The fans in these aluminum boxes that house the computer systems that run 24/7 and hum and make the noise, the fans blew the fireball throughout the Bitcoin mining operation, and in minutes, the whole thing was a disaster, $1 million worth of damage. Now, I don't know the site exactly where it was in Maynardville, but they're considering building this site in Lamar area in a neighborhood with trees and woods in the backyard. And the site would be horrendous if something happened like this fire that did in Maynardville. Commissioners, listen to us. We need you on board with this. We know your intentions are good. We know that there is a lot of money that Bright Ridge is getting from this site that's already up and running at Bailey Ridge.
Kathy, I'm sorry, but you have reached your 3 minutes. So
We need
we
you to
appreciate you
vote no.
very much. Thank you. Roger, are you ready to come forward now?
I think so.
All right.
Hello. My name's Roger Drake. I live over on Mayberry Road with Homer. You can see why I wanted her to speak first. I've never been in this building before. This is the first time that I have been in this building. I don't know about you, it's an impressive place. But I want to take a longer view of history. If I said Daniel Boone, would you know who I was talking about? If I said Davy Crockett, would you know who I'm talking about? If I talked to you about pioneers, would you know something about what I'm talking about? Now, those folks came here, didn't they? And they took property and they defended their property, and some defended their property with their lives. But they all pitched in and they helped their neighbors. Am I correct in that? Well, that's what we are here. We're neighbors. Now, I was hauling hay Saturday. I buy square bales to feed my cows, but I had to transport that load or loads on the public highway. I had the load tied on as best I could tie it on. But if that bale or those bales of hay had come off that wagon and landed on somebody's car or somebody's motorcycle, there would have been consequences, right? Insurance, ambulances, noise, problems, lawsuits. But I didn't intend, officer, for any of that to happen. I thought I had the load tied on good. Unintended consequences is what I want to talk about. Now, I believe the folks at Bright Ridge are decent, honest people, and their function is to sell power. Now, I'm going to admit that I don't know much about Bitcoin, but I do know that they try to do things legally. I won't use the word honestly, but I will say legally. And they've done this all over the world. And they're not popular in places they've been. But they're here now. Now, as pioneers in this community, we want to support our neighbors, the folks down at Bailey Ridge. It's tragic. But there are unintended consequences. I believe that the board here is made up of decent people that want to make good decisions for the community. And there are unintended consequences that have resulted from your decision. Bitcoin wants to buy electricity, Power Board wants to sell it, Dan Brandt, Keith Toth want to sell their property. It's their right, it's their business, it's legal, completely legal. But there are unintended consequences to our communities. Go down and try it down in Bailey Ridge. You can see why we pioneers will fight to defend our log cabins on these hills. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. All right, our next speaker is Tom McInturf. Tom, if you'll come forward, please, to the podium. That's all right. I almost called you Tim, Tom. I'm sorry.
I'm glad we're finally here in the corner over there. Maybe we can invest a few more dollars in the sound system. I live in 2528 Highway 81 South. I would say my driveway, I can see the new parish substation. I'm that close to that. I may be closer than anyone who's talked to you today. If you had a map up there and pointed out my house, I may be the closest, okay? From my house, I can hear the railroad blow their whistle every morning. Summer, winter, whatever. It doesn't matter about the trees getting the sound down. I can hear it every day. I don't live out at the airport. There's people who buy houses out there who didn't look at the property beforehand, or the real estate guy was smart, took them out there when the planes were not landing, okay? They bought that property, and now they're complaining about that noise from the airport. The airport was there, you know, when they bought the property. They should have investigated, looked it around, okay? You know, these little old bugs that are making this racket. I came back from South Carolina today, stopped at my mailbox, and I thought the car was tearing up. I heard all this racket. I thought the car had seen its last days, okay? This noise that you're talking about, I went down there. I don't know how many other people have driven down there. You can only pull in maybe 100 feet. They've got a cable across the entrance, won't let you get in there. No trespassing, no anything. Anyway, I don't know on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock if that thing was running at 1% capacity or what, but I could hear it 300 feet or more down to where I could park it. And I could hear that from there, just like what I could hear on the top of the hill where I live at. You know, the people put a lot of money into their property. You know, we didn't just go out there and say, hey, this is nice. I might like to live on a hill, big, far away from the traffic. But you ought to be down there on Highway 81 South. Listen to them tractor trailers going through that scare you to death. Okay? Now this noise, they say, like I said, on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, what was it running? 1%? 10? 80? If it's running 100%, I probably could have heard it down Bailey Bridge. I don't know. I just wanted to tell you that I like where I live. I'll not trade it for anywhere else. But if it gets so noisy that you can't stand it, and that would be another problem. That's all I've got to say.
Tom, thank you a lot for coming. All right, that will conclude our public hearing for this evening. We'll reconvene back into regular session at this time. Our next agenda item is the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes of May 4th. You will find in your packet on page 5. We do have a couple of special recognitions and proclamations this evening. We do have a proclamation. Mayor, I think we have two, don't we? We do. Yes. We'll go ahead and move into that.
Chairman, will be our two proclamations tonight. And the first one is talking about Staters Day. It is very important to the communities to put a band together to talk about Staters Day. And this proclamation is in that recognition. Whereas on June 1st, 1796, Tennessee was admitted to the Union as the 16th state of the United States. And whereas all across Tennessee, June 1st is celebrated the State Day, with historic sites and museums participating in and offering events to educate the public about state history. And whereas our region of northeast Tennessee played an important, influential role in the years leading up to state history, Washington County formed in 1777 as the first county in the region and what would become the first county. And whereas Washington County is brings approximately 130,000 residents with different personalities and backgrounds, yet are united as one through their commitment to live, work, and reside in the first county of Tennessee. And whereas the political and judicial center of our county seat, the
resided in Jonesboro at the site of the current Washington County Courthouse on Main Street since 1779. And whereas many of the political and civic leaders of our county past and present have provided major milestones to service to our county, region, state, and nation, including Tennessee's first governor, John Sevier, designer of the Tennessee flag, Colonel Leroy Reed, and designers of the state seal with William and Matthew Atkinson, as well as many others in many categories, including music, sports, politics, literary works, and whereas June 1st, 2021 will be Tennessee's 225th anniversary of statehood, which will be celebrated across the state with grand events culminating in our county on the evening of June 1st in Jonesboro. Be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Tennessee, that we do hereby proclaim June 1st, 2021, Statehood Day in Washington County, Tennessee, and encourage fellow citizens to learn about, celebrate their state and local history. Yes, thank you.
I want to invite you all to our Savior Day event. It's on May 31st at 6 p.m. at Mill Springs Park, and we'll be celebrating a good chunk of Tennessee and Washington County history.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution? Motion made by Commissioner Carriger, seconded by Commissioner Malone to approve the proclamation. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. The proclamation passes. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming and
Yeah, we have a great program planned, please plan something going down. And also, Statehood Day, June 1st, at around 6 o'clock, we're going to be visited by our state governor and have some festivities in honoring the beginning of the 25th year. So thank you again. Our next proclamation is in honor of a young man. Max, can you come forward here and family? Max is a unique young man, as you're going to learn here in just a minute. And we had the opportunity with Mr. Davenport recently to appear at the school and to talk about this in front of the fourth grade class grade. All right, after the thunderstorm. This is a proclamation and recognition of Mr. Max. Whereas Max Whitaker, a fourth grade student at Gray Elementary School, an enthusiastic reader, shines as an example of the intersection of leadership and reading. And whereas Max founded the Read Along Friends in May 2020. And whereas Read Along Friends has 6 adult board members, and Max serves the CEO. And whereas Mr. Max, as he is known, enjoys teaching in his classroom at home, reading books live on his Facebook page 2 or 3 times a week, and it's estimated that Max has read aloud more than 100 books over the past year. And whereas in January 2018, Max joined the team at Many Miracles Pediatric Therapy, which serves children and families in Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia, where he attained honorary occupational therapy class. And whereas, in addition to working for his Facebook and Twitter groups for the Read Along Friends and working at Many Miracles, Max enjoys being with his family, friends, church, school, reading, music, going on vacation, going to movies, swimming, and going on sporting events. Now be it proclaimed by the Board of Washington County Commissioners of Washington County, Tennessee, that we do hereby recognize Mr. Max Whitaker for his enthusiasm for reading, for exhibiting leadership skills, and for serving as a fine example for the children and adults of how to maximize efforts toward the achievement of a goal by working collaboratively with others. Congratulations.
Mr. Max, is there anything you'd like to tell us tonight about your reading program? It sounds pretty interesting. Tell me about it.
Well, yeah, like we said, that we have a Facebook channel. You can go to the Read Along Friends, type on there. If you can know it's me, it's got a crazy picture of me where it's not saying I am. So, great thing of reading. And then we, in November, we created our Twitter page that has gone over 17 followers, and about 250 members maybe on Facebook. And Friday night, we just launched out our new website. So if you have any, you can let us know if you have any questions about that. But if you haven't joined us, join the Real On Friends. Why don't you do it?
No doubt, no doubt. Max, thank you. I will get joined immediately. I promise you, after that presentation, you can count me in. All right, we have a motion to approve this proclamation. Commissioner Davenport, motion. Second by Commissioner Kate to approve the proclamation. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The proclamation passes. Congratulations, Max. And you're welcome to come back anytime. Maybe give us an update. Mayor, I think your work is still here to be done some. Connie is here with us this evening. I think Connie has... Well, no, Connie is here with us, and I know she's got a lot of awards to hand out tonight. She may need you to help her carry all those awards, Mayor. I don't know. Great. That'll be great.
Maybe to expedite things tonight, because I know you've had a lot on your agenda, and our essays a little bit. We have 5 of the 6 students that are here are talking about environmental. So if I will have all 5 of my participants, if you'll just come and line up here, because when we get finished, we wanted to take a group photo anyway. And Charlie Baines, do you want to come up and help the commissioner, and when we give them their award?
Oh, yes, we have to have Charlie.
Yes. Charlie's office started this with us, and one of you can give them their plaques, and one of them can give them their check. So, first of all, I want to thank the commissioners and the solid waste department for advertising and to network with us and offering this contest. It's environmental essays. We've probably been doing it about 18 years. And as the other people who come before you with their hearts tonight, they talked about the environment. And we are the stewards of our environment. And if we do not take care of our environment, we won't have one. I think the pandemic has kind of showed that. Max, we're really proud of you. I don't know if he's left or not, but that's one thing I think we've all learned during the pandemic is more about technology. And I also want to thank the school board and you all working with us. We did most of our meetings on Zoom this year. We were able to have all of our contests. So what we're here to do tonight is to recognize our top county winners from the different schools. And I'll read their names, and then we're going to let the junior division winners read their essays to you, and then the junior high. Receiving 3rd place, and that's our person who's not here tonight in our junior high division, was Hayden Wilson, 5th grader from Lamar. The next person, and that will be our first speaker, is Benjamin Hall, 5th grade from Gray. And then after Benjamin gets finished, we'll have Riley McCray, which is 5th grade from Ridgeview, which was first base. Benjamin, after he reads his, will be receiving a very, very nice plaque and a check for $100.
My name is Ben Hall. Hi, my name is Ben Hall. I decided to start a home recycling program. Home recycling is important because it is a way to reuse materials. It cuts down on waste and also helps protect the environment. I have decided to start a home recycling program for the home world with my family to be a good example and encourage people to keep our community clean. The first thing we will do is decide on the items we want to recycle. We will recycle plastic, cardboard, paper, and aluminum. We will use a separate bin for each item. Anytime someone finishes a can of soda, they will crush it bottles will go in plastic bag. We will break down cardboard and put it in the cardboard bin. We will put newspapers and unlined mail into the paper bin. We will take the bins to the recycling center and recycle. It is important to encourage the people in our community of Washington County to recycle, to keep our environment beautiful and litter-free. I will tell everyone I can in the school, church, or our community that I need to recycle and encourage them to do the same.
And for the new commissioners, the junior high division is for students in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So our next reader will be our first place winner, Ms. Riley.
Hi, I am Riley McCray, and I am a Mickey Elementary, and this is my class. Have you ever recycled before? I have, and I love it. It helps the environment. I recycle something every day. I want to challenge you to recycle something every day, too. First off, I'm sure you're wondering why it is important to recycle at home. Well, it is important to recycle at home because recycling reduces our use of new raw materials. It also uses up a lot of water and energy. When we recycle, we take out less, which protects many of our precious natural resources, including trees, water, oil, and metals. The more we recycle, the more we protect our environment. You can also install home recycling systems to help you with home recycling. You can also flatten cardboard boxes so that you can fit more recyclables into your bin. All plastic bottles can be recycled, so put all of them in your recycling container. It is not just newspapers that you can recycle at home. Also recycle water bottles, recycle your cans, plastic bottles, and newspapers. Recycling helps your community, and if you recycle, that can encourage others to recycle too.
Now we'll move on to our junior high division, and these essays were a little longer. The first ones were around 150 to 250 words. Junior high had to have 250 to 500 words, and all of them were around recycling, littering, and how they affected our homes. And every year we kind of changed the emphasis of the essay a little bit. Our third place winner was, and that will be our first speaker, is Emily Hubbard, 6th grade. And she represents our homeschool group. And she will be receiving, when she gets finished, a plaque and $75. So Miss Emily, if you'll come and enlighten us.
When I go on a trip that makes a wherever I go, I always see litter. Litter does not only make our community look bad, it also causes many problems. When people litter and don't get rid of it properly, it can easily blow around and can end up in lakes, rivers, and creeks. This is what can cause pollution. We all need to help prevent this from happening by throwing your trash away. By doing this, we are keeping the community beautiful and safe. Keeping a small trash can container in the car and use away we can prevent litter in our community. Sometimes we trash in the car from wherever we go to fast food restaurants, others, snacks, or from anywhere. When you get out of the car, the trash might blow or fall out of the car, and it ends up on the side of the street. Some people also throw trash out of cars on purpose. What we need to do is keep the trash in the section in the car. Whenever people go on picnics, they may think tossing leftover food and stuff on the ground is harmless because it can be picked up. It actually just causes like nice dark pictures, even like bacteria and spread germs and diseases. Also, some animals can get sicker and die from eating the food. We should bring a small bag
Our second place winner is the seventh grader from Lamar, Allison Draper, and besides her flag, she's also get a check for $100.
What can I do to help keep my community clean and litter-free? I can do a lot, but so can you. The world is a beautiful place, and by not caring about it, we are destroying more and more every day. Washington County, for example, was once this bright and healthy place that people love to visit, and while it's still pretty, it's no longer healthy. The grassy roadsides are now full of litter. The rivers, people love to fish in our fish lips because we're pushing them out of our homes. Continuing on, Washington County is a loved place. People cherish this county much like I do. Some try to keep it healthy and beautiful, while others throw cans and fast food bags out the window. It's not only against the law to litter, but it's just plain wrong. People love this county because of its mountains and trees, the colorful flowers and grassy fields. Yet they continue to destroy it by being irresponsible and lazy. The people that hold responsibility for buying fast food instead of cans should and at least clean up after themselves and not only and hurt the community and environment because they're lazy. We are spoiling the ground we walk on, and the trails we all over high on could and will be full of trash in order if we don't stop. Furthermore, many people assume that wildlife is being taken care of by the professionals, but they're not okay. Professionals do a lot, but they can't do everything. Nor can they protect the animals from the environment. We're creating more and more every day, and it's not good. The dogs that people walk every day won't run around the park full of trash and their food. The deer that follow through the fields and put smiles on so many children's faces won't be around. They are being pushed out of the forest because we're destroying them. We are throwing trash and waste into the fields, mountains, roads, and it's affecting them. To further explain, what can we do to stop the spread of litter? If we can take care of the community alone, then as a community we can become so much better. What can just one person do? Alone we can do many things. Among them is reduce, reuse, recycle. That is something I'm sure you've heard of before in the past. If you see someone that has litter, kindly ask them to pick it up. You can also participate in a community cleanup day. Personally, you can keep your trash to yourself and throw it away in a trash can, not on the side of the road. To conclude, I would like to remind people that without Washington County, our lives would be without this beautiful place. If we continue on the path we're on, Washington County will be nothing but litter and trash, and I don't think anyone wants that. I know I don't.
And our last presenter is our junior high winner. And his first place was Carly Honeycutt, 8th grader from Gray Elementary.
Have you ever thought about what the world would be like without all the dirty, nasty waste? Littering has become a big problem in today's world. People just throw waste on the ground and don't even bother to pick it up. This can hurt creatures and the environment. You can prevent littering by making sure your garbage is secure in the garbage trash can, volunteer to help clean up in your community, and educate others about the effects of littering. You can prevent littering by making sure that your trash is secure in the garbage can. About 75% of Americans litter. If you just put your trash in the garbage can, the littering percentage will go down tremendously. This could range from cigarette butts to trash from your meal or something in your car. It is not that hard to pick up trash and throw it away. If you just throw away your trash in the road, it can harm animals and even cause harm. Just doing something small, like picking up trash, has a big impact. Volunteering can help clean up your community. You can just make a huge difference. Every once in a while, go volunteer and help pick up trash. Just doing this a few times a month can prevent so many bad things. It can prevent pollution and protect wildlife. When you throw a piece of trash on the ground, it stays there for a while, and the chemicals float into the air and cause pollution. This will harm the environment. If you volunteer, you can save wildlife by picking up trash. Just picking up trash has a big impact on the environment you live in. Another thing you can do to prevent littering is educating others about the effects. Take time to talk to a friend, family member, or even a group of people. Talk to them about the effects littering has on the planet. For example, the average amount of litter per day for an average American is 4.4 pounds. In a year, about 51 billion pieces of litter are produced. That is a lot. Also, animals think trash is food and will eat it. If they eat plastic, it can seriously hurt them or even kill them. All of this litter can cause animal deaths or pollution. This can be prevented by just taking a stand. In all, littering has a massive impact of the world. It can hurt or kill animals, cause pollution, and much more. You can help prevent it by throwing away your trash, volunteering to pick up trash, and educating others about the effects of littering. Littering can be prevented. You just have to do your part and save the others.
This concludes our presentations and our essays tonight. Thank you for allowing this forum to allow the kids to speak. They are the voices of the future, and thank you for your service and all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie, wait a minute before you step away from the podium. You're going to have to remind me what kind of award you received the other day, because I want everyone here to know what that award is.
Okay, so I might be telling my age, but for most of y'all, I have served the University of Tennessee Extension Service in Johnson County and Washington County for 36 years, and 2.5 in Virginia. I received the Distinguished Service Award for service. I also received it for the Southern region, and in November, when we house the Tennessee 4-H Association, I will be receiving a national award just before Thanksgiving for my service and creative programs.
It's awesome. And we see that here in Washington County.
The other thing I'm going to brag, Barbara and Juanita are still here. They're our program assistants, and I cannot do our program without them. Miss Juanita Delay and Miss Barbara, they help organize things, and we do a lot of creative programs. I don't know if your school superintendent is here tonight.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So one of the things, and I'm going to be seeing you probably in a couple weeks. I know you've just been so busy. I wanted to thank Dr. Flannery that even during this pandemic, and I know I'm taking probably more than 3 minutes, but I was on the agenda. I guess it's okay.
You go ahead, Connie.
He allowed us to meet classrooms virtually. We did it through the Google Classroom. We were able to email the kids, and even though we didn't have 1,200 speeches this year, we had 400 speeches that we listened to. The kids were able to send us our essays, and all year long, we did South Central after-school leaps every Tuesday, and if we weren't doing it virtually online, and I'm going to tell you, it's a lot of work for online, because everything we did, we had to do PowerPoint. So my computer was breaking, and last week, we had to upload all my stuff because they had to re-image it. So I want you to know, from last March until now, we have done either PowerPoints, Excel spreadsheets, or whatever, 1,517 from 4-H office in Washington County.
Wow.
Okay? We also have done videos. That's a lot. I mean, that really is a lot. It's mind-boggling. We also taught our quilt class last summer by doing them online. Barbara and Juanita didn't want to really do it. I said, I think as long as the kids have time machine and there's a adult in the house to monitor them. So I did, was it 7 videos? So they did the Zoom, then I did videos, and so we were able just to teach a lot of stuff, and it did take a lot of time. But with that, I wanted you to know, I went ahead this year and submitted for the 4-H Association. There was 159 entries. So we submitted our sewing class and our videos. We won first place in the state for that project, and that was a cooperative effort of all 3 of them.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I usually don't brag or toot my horn.
Well, Connie, we wanted to hear a little bit about what's going on over there, and I know that you do a great job, and Barbara and Juanita, that you guys are always at it. So thank you for all you do.
Our passion is for the youth of America, and thank you guys for your service, and thank you again for allowing us to present.
Thank you. All right, our next item tonight is the Board of County Commissioners to receive and consider the minutes of the April 26, 2021 meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Motion made by Commissioner Fitzgerald, seconded by Commissioner Jones to accept those minutes. Any changes, discussions? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. The motion passes and the minutes are accepted. Under election appointments and confirmations, we have resolution number 210501 is a resolution confirming the county mayor's appointment for medical examiner of Washington County, Tennessee, and that's found on page 17. Do I have a motion? Motion made by Commissioner Fitzgerald to approve, seconded by Commissioner Kate. Discussion or questions? Questions been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote. Lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. I'm still behind on one, aren't I? Well, we have 14 yes and 1 no, and the resolution passes. All right, we have the county mayor's report. Mayor, do you have anything else this evening? Thank you, Mayor. The county attorney's report, Ms. Wilkinson.
Thank you. I don't have a report for you. I did leave you a memo that addresses some contractual terms that you're considering tonight. Thank you, whoever turned that mic on. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions about anything, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Seeing no questions, we'll move on to the next item. Is the Director of the Health Department, Dr. Hodgin. Or is he here? Is he? I don't see him here tonight. Do you, Mayor? Director of Schools report, Director Boyd.
Report, I just wanted to say thanks to all of you that were able to attend May 13th, our discussion, the joint meeting with the board and the commission, and discussion about workforce development, and particularly how we're going to continue to strengthen the connection pre-K through 12 through future jobs in the region. Great conversation, and it's just the beginning, and I look forward to that continued partnership. Also, I just want to thank you all, too, as a commission, for recognizing our students in the community for their talents and their hard work and their service. That certainly is well deserved, and that says a lot about a community that recognizes their children for leadership and service. Other than that, the last thing is we have a special call meeting on Wednesday, in addition to a board work session. The special call is just for draft 2 of the fiscal year 22 budget. We took, some feedback from the budget committee and went back and made some adjustments in some revenue items, and the board is going to consider those changes for approval, and we'll bring it back to the budget committee next week. But thank you all. Any questions at this time? I can answer.
Thank you, Director Boyd. All right, we do have a beer board minutes in your packet. Commissioner Blunt.
Chairman, our minutes are on page 19. We did meet this month, thanks to those members for meeting, for our clerk and Sherry Green being there. But we did approve the new beer license for the French Quarter, which is also on the lake, similar to the one I think we approved last. Any questions?
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, the next item is the C Commercial, Industrial, and Agricultural Committee report. Commissioner Carrier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our minutes are on page 20. I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are questions at this time. Seeing none, we'll move on to our first action item. That's resolution number 210502, resolution approving the TVA Invest Prep grant application and related funding at $660,260. And Miss Alicia Summers is here to do a real quick overview and answer questions.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you, Alicia, for being here.
So real quickly, I'm going to go through this, and I please would encourage you, if you have any questions, please stop me and we'll go through this.
We can afford that.
Turn the volume up so we can hear what Christine's got to say.
We're not able to turn up the volume. The thing is, if everybody will move closer to their mic. That's the key to it. The closer you get to your mic, the better able you're broadcasting.
So real quickly, we're going to talk a little bit about the Washington County Industrial Park.
and what we currently have available. So we have that 25-acre site that is a pad-ready site. We've developed that several years ago. It's publicly owned, and it's currently being marketed. It can house a building of approximately 150,000 square feet. A couple of years ago, the county also purchased a 37-acre site. That, again, is publicly owned, and it's undeveloped at this time. Is that you forwarding or me?
Yeah, I think that's acted up.
You need to turn it on. There's that little button. Sorry, you didn't see that.
So what's happening right now? You all might recall last year in January, we received a grant from the state of Tennessee. There's a due diligence program, there's site selection, or I'm sorry, site development grant program for due diligence. You can see up on the screen, we had about $104,000 that was used to do those studies. All of those have been completed to date. We also had additional funding included in that to do a master plan and a grading plan. Both of those are in process right now. There's kind of a quick snapshot of the master plan that we currently have for the industrial park. You'll notice on the left-hand side of the screen, that's where that 37-acre site is, and that's what we're going to be talking about this evening. You'll also notice up at the top, you can see a roadway. That is the roadway that, because of landing EPM passed 2 years ago, TDOT will be putting in that roadway for us. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I think you all might have seen it last week in the paper, is, again, because of EPM Path's landing on that site, the town of Jonesboro applied for an EDA grant to extend water and sewer in the industrial park, and the EDA announced last week that they had awarded $630,000 to the town of Jonesboro to complete that project. In addition to that, the natural gas line has been extended down to the cul-de-sac in the park. So that's where we are right now. We are in the process of going through TVA's Invest Prep process, and that is a grant similar, very similar to what we did a couple of years ago to help offset the cost of site development. This year, a couple of things have changed because of COVID. Instead of a 50-50 match, we're at a 60-40 match, and their maximum grant award amount has gone up to $750,000. So just a quick reminder on what we've done in the past. The two pad-ready sites on the access road that we did a couple of years ago had a total cost of almost $1.8 million. We combined TVA's Invest Prep grant with the state's site development grant, along with some funds from the Economic Development Council, and did that project for about a $700,000 cost to the county. So we're looking to do a very similar thing this year between Invest Prep and Tennessee's site development grant. And just a reminder about EPM Path's landing there, because we had that pad-ready site, $37 million in capital investment and about 200 new jobs. Of course, the need for pad-ready sites, we've talked about this numerous times in the past. We have a lack of pad-ready sites and industrial buildings, so it limits our ability to apply and complete requests for information to recruit new companies. And again, a site of the size that we're proposing to do development work on addresses a clearly defined market need. Again, we've talked about missed opportunities in the past and new market opportunities. This is a quick slide on what we've seen in about the last 12 months in terms of projects. Average 32 million, 184 jobs, and about 225,000 square feet. So we're talking about doing a pad-ready site for about 225,000 square feet. This is a quick view of what we're proposing, and we'll actually be developing two parcels on that property. That area in the top third of the property is the wetlands mitigation area that came out because of the due diligence that we did, so we need to avoid that area. We'll be using that for stormwater detention. We'll also develop the property to the north of that, to a small pad that would accommodate about 50,000 square feet, and on the lower portion, to a pad that will accommodate about 225,000. And here's a conceptual of what that might look like. Here's the timeline, and we've talked again about this in the past. We did the actual application for Invest Prep back in February. We did the review call in March. We got shortlisted in May. We have the step 2 application due the end of this week. And then we're scheduled for a site tour. It will be virtual on June the 11th. They'll make award offers in July. We call those contingent offers because it will be based on TVA's environmental division doing their environmental study. And that'll take about 6 months. One other thing I wanted to note was that in September, Tennessee's site development grant program opened, so we'll be applying for a grant in September to help offset the costs like we did the last time. They'll do their award notifications in December or early January, and TVA should be finished with their environmental about February. So all of this is starting to really line up. So we took a look at the probable cost estimate and then received 2 additional cost estimates on the overall project. Comes in around $1.4 million. TVA's match to that, the 60%, would be $720,000, and the county's grant match would be $660,260. And here's a breakdown of those cost estimates. And then again, just a reminder that all of this takes time. Again, we purchased the property, the county purchased this additional 37 acres in January of 2018. So we've owned it for 3 years now. We've done due diligence on it, and that's where we are. We have the one site left, and we need to keep products in the pipeline in order to keep recruiting new companies and creating new jobs.
Thank you, Alicia. Any questions from any of the commissioners? Commissioner Harris?
Our match, our match, yeah, you're saying $660,000.
Yes, our match would count is $660,000. If we get approved and awarded the state's site development grant, we can use that match, which our portion of that is 30% this year. We can use our portion of the match for the TVA match.
But you're asking right now, commit $660,000.
Yes, the applicant, yeah, exactly. The application process requires us to provide a commitment to this step 2 application.
That's something that we talked last year, how tight we were with money. I mean, we know where this thing will come from. Tax increases, that's it, we have it. Where's it coming from?
Yeah. I was going to say that's a great question, and one of the things that you may recall is when PAPS came when they elected to go on that site, they agreed to pay $1.4 million for their site. To date, they have already paid $800,000, and when they close and get ready to start building, which we expect in the next 12 months, they will remit the additional $400,000. That $1.2 million went into a restricted account for industrial development, and so this $660 will be allocated out of that account. So that's the proposed place where we'll take the money. And again, if we get this additional grant, which we did last time and we would expect to again, it will reduce to $660 to only 30% of that.
What I hope is we'll get it back and develop it, sell the property like you said we're doing.
Yes, sir.
Again, guarantee on, when we talk about the sale of the property, we could have talked about this several years ago when we started doing this project, that we could potentially have to use the property as an incentive for a new company to land. And of course, we would take that through, see what their wages are, the number of jobs created, how that would affect our median income, that kind of thing. But I certainly wouldn't want to leave here with giving you the impression that the property would be sold.
If there are no further questions, Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we approve Resolution 210502.
Motion made by Commissioner Carriger to approve the resolution, second by Commissioner Huffine. Questions? Commissioner Tester?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Alicia.
This is kind of a 50,000-foot view comment. Our superintendent mentioned the workshop that we had a couple weeks ago, and if you weren't there, I think it was really good. We had 2 or 3 hours of really good conversation and information presented about workforce development, and a lot of good discussion time and comments. And anybody that had a hand in planning that, I know Commissioner Jones had a big hand in that. Thank you to anybody that helped with that. And this is kind of a follow-up comment from that, and I feel like it's related to this resolution. To me, workforce development focuses around our educational opportunities in our school system that we provide for our students, career path opportunities, and course opportunities and those kinds of things. And Mitch Miller was there that night, and one of the comments that he made was that when a company is deciding where to go, the number one main thing they look for is the people in the workforce. And Representative Alexander was there, and she made an interesting comment that night, I thought. She said it's kind of like the chicken and the egg, what comes first, the company's coming or the workforce, and the educational opportunities. And thinking about that myself, and maybe this is more of a long-term view or approach thinking about it, but if we're going to spend money and resources, and $660,000 is a lot, would we be better off prioritizing and focusing those on providing more and better career opportunities and course opportunities and educational opportunities for our students? To me, I mean, whether it's providing different courses or equipment or new teachers or whatever, we can flatten all the sites that we want to, and a company may come and a company may not. But to me, if we can give our kids and our families better opportunities for their future, I don't know, it seems to me like that for sure will make a difference. And you hope it would affect the other as well, because it's, chicken and egg kind of thing. But I hope that these comments will spark some conversation, maybe not even tonight, but maybe at another workshop or future meetings or whatever. But interesting thoughts that I was thinking about and I wanted to share tonight. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Tester.
Thank you, Chairman.
Any further discussion or consideration? We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 12 yes, 3 no, and the resolution passes.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask Alicia, any update on the one we approved last month?
They're undergoing their due diligence
Okay.
now on the facility, so I expect it to be another 30 days or so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
We appreciate all the work you do. Commissioner Carriger?
Mr. Chairman, we have also resolution number 210503, resolution adopting the Washington County Communications Task Force policy. Commissioner Huffine, any comments you wish to make?
Yes, if you'll look at page 47 in your packet, there's a flow chart, and really this is what we consider a foundational communication platform. It clearly defines out the flow that will start in committee meetings and conclude at actions taken in this forum, and our communication director will work with legal through the process to make sure the conclusion of our
This will continue to evolve as the task force moves forward, but again, this provides us a foundation to really start our communication flows from the commission to the employees and the citizens of the county. And I'll take any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I'll put that in form of a motion.
We approve resolution number 210503.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Carriger to approve the resolution. Is that a second, Commissioner Wheeler? Second, Commissioner Wheeler. Commissioner Jones?
Just a comment. That I think this is a great start to getting better communication within the county and outside of the county, but it won't work if the chairs of the various committees don't pass on items to Ms. Saylor. So when you have a committee meeting, you really have to send an email or mention to her, hey, I'd really like this item to be included in this month's process. So I think it's going to be a habit. We're going to have to get used to just, if you chair a committee, start paying attention to that. And wouldn't hurt if we all reminded each other either, too. So thanks for doing this, Ken. Appreciate it.
Call for question.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, 1 no, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Carrier?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have also resolution number 210504, resolution approving the concept plan and a plan of work, Phase 2, for the new Boones Creek athletic fields. This was something we discussed in 2018, I think 2019, and the school opened last year, and we're prepared to move on with the athletic fields and the walking trails and such as that. And I'll put that in the form of a motion that we approve resolution 210504.
Motion made by Commissioner Carriger to approve the resolution, seconded by Commissioner Davenport. Discussion or questions? Questions been called? Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner. You're behind the massive speaker box up here.
Do we have a price tag on this, or?
Yes, sir. We approved, I think, top limit of $3.2 million, and we spent $875,000. So whatever that figures out to, that's what's left.
So something's got to be bid out.
Yes.
And we have that money set aside somewhere to pay for this project.
This is planned as a capital project budget.
Money's there. Not going to be a future tax increase or something. I'm going to say we want to bring more money. It's already there.
Money is planned as a capital project.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Harris, I didn't see you over there. You know, it's one of those duck and dodge deals with this speaker. All right, any further questions or comments? All right, the question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 14 yes, 1 abstained, and the resolution passes. Anything else, Commissioner Carriger?
No, Mr. Chairman, that concludes our report.
All right. Next item is the County Industrial Development Board. You'll find their meeting minutes of April 28th enclosed in your packet on page 56. Next report, we'll have the County-Owned Property Committee. Commissioner Carriger, we'll just keep you busy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have our minutes on page 98, and I'll be glad to answer any questions if anyone has any at this time. Seeing none, Mr. Chairman, that concludes our report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, the Courtroom Security Committee, they did not meet. The Employee Compensation, Benefits, and Rules Committee, and Benefits Committee. We do have one resolution. We have the resolution number 210505 is a resolution renewing the county health care benefits package for the year 21-22 budget year. And that'll be found on page 113. Do I have a motion? Motion made by Commissioner Kate, second by Commissioner Williams to approve the resolution. Discussion or questions?
Just the same package they had last year, we changed anything for the employees, same.
There are a few changes to it. One of the things that we've seen happen is the prescription drug costs continue to go up for the county. There is some slight raises in the prescription drug cost for the employees. We had, Mayor, do you remember what the percentage was of the premium increase? 4%. They had proposed that at 8%. The committee felt that trying to find a medium balance between an 8% increase during these kind of tough times that we're having, we tried to we lowered those prescription drug proposals. They had proposed a substantial amount. I think the committee all decided that we would have to cut those down at least in half, and we did with the percentage of increase. And this was brought from Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's probably not what we wanted to do, but it was as close as we could get this year. And it's not a substantial increase, but it is an increase. One of the things I worry about, Commissioner Harris, is next year, we're probably going to get another increase. I mean, just the way that looked. So, you may be picking up that 8 or another 4 plus whatever next year's is. So it did concern us. I mean, there's some concern to it. I know Commissioner Huffine and Commissioner Cade, and I know Commissioner Lott, we all struggled with this decision some, for sure. It's 4% for the employee. I mean, it's 4% overall for the county, but of course the employee picks up that 10%. The overall employee group picks up 10% of the cost of the health insurance plan. So as that 10% goes up, they would pick up that additional cost of the 10%. However, like on prescription drug cost, specialty drugs would go up substantially. Not as substantial as they would have with the one that they had proposed, but yeah, specialty drugs would take at least a good hit. Right. Well, I truly think that the committee looked at it in the sense that we know it's been a tough year for everyone. And we tried to manage that cost to take some of the sting out of it, but yet I guess we didn't want to get to the point that we didn't want to do an 8% increase next year and plus whatever that increase would be as well. So like a 16% or a 12%. I mean, I guess we were just trying to balance out as little as we could this year. Commissioner Malone, I think you had a question.
I did have a question. It's just a clarification about, I think something you may have said, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it may help to Commissioner Harris's question, that the county already pays 90% of the health insurance portion of the cost. Is that correct?
Yes, the employees pay 10, like I said.
Yeah. So, I mean, if there's an increase, the county's already covering 90% of that on the health insurance.
Yes, there is, but I think the county, the employees, it would still cost them an additional, whatever that addition was, to increase their premium. And for full disclosure, I guess I want to just disclose that, yes, their premiums are going up. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Ford.
I like to hear from Michelle. She just got a way about explaining stuff to me. I can understand everything she says.
Absolutely. I don't know that she's here this evening.
I can understand your reason and your speaking, Michelle.
I'd rather Michelle explain it too. It's a lot easier. That's what it is. Him and Malone, Commissioner Malone was going to try to be nice and not say that to me, so thank you, Commissioner Malone.
As Chairman Matterly said, this year we've had a little tougher year on health insurance. Our claims have gone up. We have had 2 claims go over our stop loss. Last year we had none. So we've had a couple of unfortunate things happen. We have seen a large increase in prescription drugs, especially our diabetic medicines. So we tried to look at ways, could we incorporate some things into the employee health clinic? Could we offer some incentives to get people getting less expensive medicines if they were available at the clinic at no cost? Unfortunately, those drugs are just too costly. We couldn't move them into the clinic. Just to give you a little heads up, our diabetic medicine cost us over $500,000 this year. So our medicine costs are going up. The employees of Washington County have done a great job, though, embracing the employee health clinic, trying to make wise decisions, trying to do their wellness stuff to prevent chronic disease. But unfortunately, we just had a harder year this year than the last 2 years. 3 years ago, I came to you and asked for a premium decrease for employees with the committee. We had some cost savings, so we decreased the premium. Year before last and last year, we had a whole steady premiums. So employees today are paying less than they did 3 years ago for health insurance. The premium increase that was proposed to the clinic by the broker and I, the recommendation, and what they passed was a 4% increase. On an employee-only rate, it's $2.65 a month. That premium is $66 right now. July 1st, that would go up $2.65 to a total of $68.65. An employee plus one would have a $5.18 a month increase. That would go from $129.50 to $134.68. And then the family rate is $175.50 right now, would have a $7.02 increase to make that premium $182.52. So 4%, it's a justifiable increase, unfortunately. We just had a harder year than we've had in the past. We've had larger claims. Our drug costs are up. So it was one of those things where how do you try to balance it all and make it work, and make it justifiable by the county funds and the funds that the taxpayers have you be good stewards of, but also what's justifiable and good for the employees as well. The other 2 changes that would take place January 1st is a change in copays for prescription drugs. We're trying to get in the model of educating the employees of where they get their medicine impacts the cost of the plan. They may only pay a $30 copay for a medicine, but depending on where they get that medicine can range for several $100 difference to the health plan. So the committee felt the health, our broker's recommendation, and unfortunately her recommendation was a little higher than they wanted to stomach. So they came back and said, bring us something else. So Velva came back with a 25%, the employees would pay 25% of the cost with a cap. The $30 drugs would go to 40, I think that's right off the top of my head. I didn't bring that with me. And then specialty drugs that are right now 100 would go to 125. I think that's right. But it is, again, just to try to control our drug costs and to make our employees, the employees of Washington County, a little better consumer of where they get their drugs impacts the plan. We did bring a cost savings to the plan with a stop loss premium change. We kept the stop loss at $200,000, which it is now, but we added an aggregating specific premium, which means that we have an extra $75,000 worth of liability. We may never spend it, but if we do, when we get that, then those claims are paying, and that was a dollar for dollar savings. So we felt like that offset some of the costs that we experienced. So January the 1st, we're going to have the RX changes. We're also going to have a wellness surcharge change. Right now, the plan has two plans, depending on if employees participate in wellness or non-wellness. There has been some changes with the GINA program that regulates wellness plans, that they can't discriminate against someone, that kind of thing. Our broker felt like having two plans was discriminatory, so they are recommending one plan, which would lower the employee's deductible that don't do the wellness plan, that they would add a surcharge of $100 a month because they don't do that wellness benefit. On average, we have about 12% of our employees and their spouses that don't do the wellness plan. I have committed to the committee that I'm going to make sure and touch base with all those people that don't participate, try to convince them why it's a good thing to participate, how it saves them money. I'm going to do that individually. I do that with all the employees quite often, but I'm going to really focus on trying to do that individually so that no one is surprised. But the reason we're making that change is it's a legislative change, that we need to make sure that we're following those federal guidelines and not putting the county in any jeopardy for violating anything that's related to the Affordable Care Act. So basically, those are the only changes that were proposed and that were passed. Did I answer your question? That's okay.
You just talk good and clear. I can understand your talk.
Thank you. And I thought it might help if I actually told you the 4% cost increase. It's a minimal increase compared to what's being faced in the healthcare world right now, and what could have happened with an 8% cost increase. But I think that what we brought was fair. It's manageable, and I think it still protects the insurance benefits for the employees, which is a huge benefit to them.
Commissioner Huffine?
First, as Commissioner Ford said, you do a phenomenal job explaining that. Not only does she do a phenomenal job explaining to us, she does that with every county employee. This 12% that's not participating, I'll wager we're probably going to do about 2% after she explains to them how it's beneficial for them.
It's an hour investment, I think, for, was it $1,200? $1,200 an hour. That's a pretty, yeah. So, again, thank you. She's done a super job managing this. I challenge anyone to find any corporate entity out there that reduced rates 1 year, held rates flat for the next 2 years. If it is, I want to buy some stock. But thank you for what you do and your due diligence. We did make a lot of requests of her, and she followed up with everything and did an excellent job. And I think, all things considered, it is a great plan. Truly, no, we would not like to have to take anything up, but the world we live in, we take a little up this year, and we sort of hedge a little for next year because we know things are going to continue to increase. Thank you.
Any further questions for Michelle?
Call for question.
Thank you, Michelle. If I'd have seen you over there, I'd have already had you up here earlier. I would have answered so many questions for Commissioner Harris. All right. Got a motion to approve, and the question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'd switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 15 yes, 0 no, and the resolution passes. All right. Is there anything else for our committee? Any questions? All right. Move on to the Health, Education, and Welfare Committee. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chairman. Our committee met on May 6th, and you can find the minutes from that meeting and attachments on page 120. I want to thank my committee for working with me on our joint workshop with the school board. As Superintendent Boyd mentioned, it was great. We had great participation from our body and from many others in the community. If you weren't able to be there, it's available online. Ms. Ehler, thank you for doing that. I think she's also notated on the agenda where different speakers are speaking, so you can move through that video as you need to. And I hope that's just the beginning, and we're able to continue to talk about workforce across the county with all of the different stakeholders that we know are interested. I have just one resolution for your consideration tonight. That's resolution number 210506, resolution authorizing the mayor to renew joint cooperation agreement with the Northeast Tennessee Virginia Home Consortium for an additional 3-year qualification period. And that resolution was recommended by the committee, and I bring it to you in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Jones to approve the resolution. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Williams. Discussion or questions?
Call for the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 14 yes, 1 no, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Jones, anything else?
There are no questions, that's all I have.
Commissioner Wheeler?
Mr. Jones, just one question on the minutes that may help us later on in the meeting. But on item 6, the fifth paragraph down, it mentions that a motion was made by me to have, it says the mayor set aside office space. We had a long discussion during that meeting with the county attorney who indicated that the commission has to set aside office space. Just to point that out, members of the commission were reading the notes, they might have wrong impression.
Sure, and that's a correction we would make to the minutes in our next committee meeting.
I normally wouldn't brought it up, but we do have that issue that's been come up tonight.
Anything else, Commissioner Jones?
Nope, that's all.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, let's go on to the Public Safety Committee report. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our minutes from our basic meeting, page 143 of your packet. We have two resolutions before you this evening. First, resolution number 210507, resolution authorizing appropriation claim for the Tennessee litter and trash collection grant. Down at page 145 of your packet. This comes as a recommendation from the committee and move for approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Kate to approve the resolution. Discussion or questions? Oh, Commissioner Jones, I'm sorry, you was in front of the speaker again. Yeah, you and Commissioner Harris are right there in it.
Am I on?
You're on.
Oh, I just wanted to just express appreciation for this resolution. I have mentioned in a few HUE committees concerns I have about debris and trash on Dry Creek Road, and there was a coordinated effort with First Tennessee Development District and our regional tourism agency to clean that road up this weekend. So I spent a few hours picking up trash on that road. Our sheriff's department had already gone through prior to that, about 4 weeks ago, and it looked so much better when we started. Of course, it still could use another go-round, and the sheriff's department and some of the inmates that were there were incredibly helpful, and I was just so proud to say that I was a county commissioner and that we were supporting this cleanup. We do environmental cleanups around the county on private property, and to clean up national forests, roadsides, and pullouts that are completely covered in trash and furniture and tires is just very gratifying, and it looks so much better on that road right now. So thanks to the Sheriff's Department and to everybody that made this possible.
Right. Question.
Call for the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, 0 no, 15 yes, 0 no, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our next resolution is Resolution 210508, resolution approving the agreement between East Tennessee State University and Washington County System for forensic pathology services. Turn on page 147 of the packet. And before I make a motion on this, I'd like to point out that we don't have the terms at that time. We had verbal terms, but we didn't have the written terms in front of us. Those aren't in front of you, and we're in the packet. Additionally, tonight at the table, you've been provided memorandum from Attorney Wilkinson. She has graciously provided me this information. I've been out there on this afternoon, asked her to please get that in the format so she can get it to you all. And the mayor may need to see further of this as well. But this does come. I'm specifically going to ask the mayor to speak to you about the addendum where it says that it runs from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2023. I think that may have changed from the conversation we had just prior to meeting starting, but I'll ask him to address that. But in the meantime, I will make a motion that we approve this on the recommendation of the committee.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by, I didn't catch the second, Commissioner Malone. Discussion or question?
We can have the mayor address that one item, I think. I'm sorry, Mayor, can you just slide back?
No problem.
The
Oh, go ahead, Mayor.
looks like the written addendum looks like it does do 2 years.
Well, what it's actually saying, it's changing it from 24 to 12 months. So the original request from the Forensic Center was for a 20-month cycle. In discussion, as you recall, we are in one of 8 counties in northeast Tennessee that shares this service, and the other mayors are more comfortable with the 1-year term, as was I, which has been the way we have done it in the past. So everyone has revised their term to 12 months, 1 year. And we're looking at an opportunity maybe to go to a longer term situation next year, but everyone wanted the opportunity to meet with the forensics folks and to be sure that everyone understood the terms going forward. So what they are proposing is exactly what they agreed to several years ago in terms of the change in the amount, but we're gonna ask them to modify it from 2 years to 1 year. And that's what's before you, a 1-year contract.
So that will change for the workers in the packet. It says 24 months, it says it is in 2023.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Carrier?
A question for Mr. Wheeler. I see in paragraph 2, sub 4, that ETSU can terminate the agreement, can immediately terminate the agreement if the county fails to perform its obligations under this agreement in a timely or proper manner. Is there any way the county can terminate this thing if something goes haywire?
I believe that County Attorney addressed that in her memorandum that he
Okay.
got this afternoon, but I would need to defer that with her answer that.
Yes, sir, and it would be my recommendation that there be reciprocity, that the county have the same term that the county may terminate immediately. It's in the memo that I've given you, second bullet point on the back page.
Mr. Carrier, I would point out too, that one of our concerns, and the reason we asked for a longer term is because we're appointing their ME as our ME for a longer period of time. We've not been successful in that endeavor, and hopefully that will happen in the future. But if we did add that provision that you're asking about, that would give us the opportunity to say, if at some point we're appointing an ME, that we're terminating our contract. I don't think realistically that will ever happen, but it would put us in a have that covered.
Honestly, I have a hard time, it looks like it's kind of one-sided that ETSU can cast it whenever they want to, even have to give us a good reason, but as I read the contract, county
Should not be relieved of liability to ETSU for damages sustained by virtue of any breach of this agreement. To me, that sounds like a one-sided agreement. My opinion. Thank you.
Commissioner Williams?
I want to make a comment in reference to 7 under 1. My brother-in-law died in his sleep in December, and by the time I checked out at Kroger's and drove to Owen, to my sister-in-law's house, the investigator from ETSU was there. That was within this 30 minutes. I was so impressed with her. I didn't get her name, but I want to tell you, I was impressed with the timely manner that was honored at a very sad time.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Huffine?
I'd like to move to amend.
The motion to have that clause included in it to give us the same right as
I'll
cancellation.
second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made on an amendment to include
Same right of cancellation.
same right of cancellation.
Legally stated, please.
Are you working on that, Allison, already?
sir.
Yes, she's already got that in her play here. So we have a motion and a second on the amendment. Any further discussion or questions?
Mr. Chairman, would you confirm, is there a motion to amend as to the term, so to reflect what Mayor Brandy is discussing, that it's a one-year term, not through 2023? Is that?
Well, we haven't got that far on an amendment yet. We're dealing with this one particular one. Is that correct, Commissioner Huffine?
Mr. Chairman, if acceptable, if I can amend my amendment to include that so that we have it all inclusive with one amendment as opposed to two.
If your second is agreeable to that amendment, yes. So that would amend two things on that resolution.
Didn't forget what he said.
Allison, can you go over the things that we are amending?
Yes, sir. So the first one, I'll go in the order that they were discussed this evening. The first one, and if you look at your contract that is in the packet, there's an amendment to the agreement, which is on page 155 of your packet. And you will see that there's two tables that have a period of time. The second table, which is 2022 to 2023, would be stricken so that the amendment to the agreement will only reflect 2021 through 2022. That's what I've understood, so that it'll continue to be a one-year term, which is what the mayor has discussed with you earlier.
And one of the changes would be to change the date in the paragraph A
Yes.
to 2021.
Yes, sir.
2026.
Yes, sir. And there is a representation, the second line of A that talks about section 2 contract term, that will also be revised so that that substance, big picture, any reference to an extension of time will be clear that it is a one-year term of contract here. And then the second change is in the original form of the agreement, which is on page 151 of your packet. It is item 4 under Roman numeral 2, and it provides that ETSU may immediately terminate the agreement if the county fails to perform its obligations in a timely or proper manner. And so we will work with the Forensic Center to have that same opportunity available, that if ETSU were to fail to perform its obligations under this agreement, that the county would have the ability to immediately terminate. And we will work on how that would impact the representation that the county shall not be relieved of liability sustained by breach of agreement. There's another provision in there about maximum liability, so they may wish to discuss that with us. And just point of order, we previously requested, and they agreed to provide, but when you talk about the timely or proper manner, they've incorporated some best practices in here so the county will know what its expectations are. And this is just for sake of good order. recital in there so that you have the same rights as your contracting party. Is that it, Mr. Chairman? Does that sound like?
Is there any questions for Allison before we take a vote on this amendment? No, right? Right.
Call for the question.
Madam Clerk, the question's been called, and we'll go ahead and vote on the amendment. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, you can announce the vote. We have 12 yes, 2 no, 1 abstained, and the motion passes. The amendment passes. All right, well, we'll go back to the resolution as amended. Is there any questions or discussion on the resolution as amended? Commissioner Williams?
Wrong place, but the salary per month of the medical examiner at $21,750, is that just for one, or does that include, I was told there were 3 in this office.
It includes numerous things. That's just the cost per month that they would be charging us as for the number of autopsies as well, and as well as the examiners. There's, they come out to the scene, so there is some charges on all those things.
It's comprehensive, unlimited, it covers any number of.
Then there is numerous medical examiners. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Mayor, before we marched on with that question?
It's the price for the entire service. There's 3 forensic pathologists, one of whom is a medical examiner. Plus, plus scene investigators, and that includes all autopsy work.
Right, thank you, Mayor. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Williams?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Malone?
I was simply going to offer that this relationship, I think if you'll remember a couple years ago, this relationship is one where we had some struggles and some issues in the past, but I really think that the forensics team at ETSU has done a good job at addressing those issues, and I really think they better understand the county's position better than they did before, and so I think with this relationship, we've come a long way, so I'm grateful for the service they provide. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any further questions or discussion before we vote on the amendment or the resolution as amended? Questions been called? Madam Clerk, switches to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. If you'll announce the vote, Madam Clerk. 11 yes, 3 no, 1 abstained, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler? Thank you. I'd like to propose a 10-minute recess. We've been in this chair 2 hours. Any objection? Seeing none, we'll stand in recess 10 minutes.